Hello, James Bogue here. This is the Yoga Top 40, and the next entry is Livin on a Prayer by Bon Jovi, a huge hit from the 1980s. And in the song is communicated the idea that this popular idea that if you're praying for something, there's a little bit of desperation. Like sometimes we have expressions in English like, oh, you haven't got a prayer. Or, for example, when I was a boy, I used to play a lot of basketball, and if somebody took a speculative shot and it went in, then the opposition might say, well, that was a prayer. Like you're doing something and it's kind of your last hope. And to me, this is such a misrepresentation of what prayer really is, or can be. And in the Sanskṛt tradition, in the yoga tradition, in the Indian tradition, one of the Sanskrit words for prayer is just so beautiful, and it's the word prārtha. Now, artha means the means, and pra, as a prefix, gives this sense of basically to orient towards the means. So if we want to pray for something, it means we have to practice it, we have to embody it, we have to share it. So, for example, if we're praying for peace, if our prayer is peace, then let us practice peacefulness. Let us embody peacefulness as best we possibly can. Let us cultivate peacefulness. Let us share peacefulness. So, one very pragmatic thing amongst the very, very many pragmatic things in the yoga tradition, which is the practical school of Indian philosophy, there is the very clear and overt recognition that there is no such thing as a means to an end. Because, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, peace is every step. There's no point aggressively pursuing peace. I tried. It doesn't work. If we want peacefulness, then we have to practice it. We have to really cultivate it. Similarly, if we want to have, for example, harmony, then we have to practice harmony. And this is one of the reasons why in the yogic method we are encouraged to progress gradually, incrementally, step by step. If we have been used to a certain degree of imbalance, which most of us, we are, we're not in a state of complete balance and harmony. If all of a sudden we introduce total harmony, total balance, it can be somewhat destabilizing. And so it's this idea, let me pray for balance, but may it come softly, gently, step by step, so I can calibrate, recalibrate, so I can adjust, so I can move forwards in a smooth, easy, sustainable way. So yes, let me pray for peace, but when I pray for peace, I'm asking for trouble. Because I'm asking to bring to the surface the tendencies within myself that I have been harboring that would get in the way of my experiencing a sustainable peace. And so I have to bring up all of those things from my shadow lands that need to be harmonized. And hence the need to practice how I want to feel. So I want to clear the field of my awareness so I can feel more peaceful, more whole, more fulfilled, more satisfied, more how deep down I really long to feel. But in order to do that, there will be a clearing that is required. There will be a big, deep down, to call it a spring clean is still in the realm of understatement. You might call it like it's clearing a minefield. There are all of these things within my psychic field that I'm somewhat susceptible to because of my woundings or the things that I feel a certain lack around. There are certain things that can trigger me that I'm more susceptible to because of my particular woundings or false beliefs that have lodged in my awareness since who knows how many years. And so in order to harmonize the field, to clear the minefield of my psychic reality, prayerfulness is a great way to live. So prayer in the Sanskrit sense of prārtha, let me bring myself into congruence, let me align myself with my deeper longing. And then there's the idea that we can invite this magical transformation. So that the clearing of the minefield happens without all of the bombs having to be detonated. Rather, they can be dissolved. So, for me to access my deepest longing, I have to clear the minefield. I can pretend those incendiary things are not hidden deep within the recesses of my being. But if I don't address them, sooner or later they will come out sideways. If, however, I can muster the courage and the fortitude to face them and to actively seek to reconcile and harmonize them, then rather than them going off in harmful explosions that in some instances may perpetuate the limiting habits that they have spawned, I can actually transmute them and then draw out the gifts that they've actually been concealing and protecting. Because when I do that work of harmonizing the field of my own being, it obliges me to contact my greater, deeper capacity to actually embody the energy I would really like to embody, to actually be here now in the field of my own experience, more how I'd like to be, more peacefully, in a way that's more fulfilled, in a way that's more balanced, steadier, more robust, more resilient, and less susceptible to careening off into self-sabotage or into patterns of behaviour that harm myself and others, into ways that perpetuate negligence, and make it much easier for me to actually keep myself together and so live in greater congruence. So living on a prayer is the absolute opposite of living in a state of desperation. Living on a prayer, the way I understand it from a yogic perspective, means to live more and more consciously by steadily, honestly inviting myself more and more into congruence with what is really my deepest longings, and to practice embodying and bringing forth into the field of my lived reality those qualities, those ways of being that demonstrate and shine forth, if you like, the qualities that are not just emblematic, but are the, let's say, living, breathing, pulsating representation of that harmony that is my deepest prayer, that is my deepest longing. So in a sense, it's what I am desperate for. But the practiced ways of my being can get in the way of me truly acknowledging and embodying that. And so living on a prayer is something I have to practice, something I have to cultivate every day. Can I invite myself more and more into a state of congruence, where my thoughts and my words and my actions all come together. They all align in tune, in harmony with that most sincere prayer of my heart and soul, which I'm convinced inside each of us is a prayer for wholeness, for togetherness, and so by extension is a prayer for reconciliation, for forgiveness, for inclusion, for recovery, for rehabilitation, for the recognition of our capacity to bring together things that might seem impossible to bring together. But with practice, this is one of the other magical things in yoga, is when we practice bringing ourselves into togetherness, we start to recognize that our ideas about what were our limits were just that. They were ideas. And when we do bring ourselves into togetherness, we can recognize more of our innate capacity for yoga. An innate capacity. Here we are as human beings, and at the physical level we are constituted of earth, water, fire and air existing in space. Now for earth and water and fire and air to cohere together in a physical body is already quite a miraculous thing. We have a miraculous capacity for togetherness and to reconcile things that would seem impossible to reconcile. And so with practice, we can actually uncover and bring to light, bring into lived, vibrant experience that deeper capacity for yoga. And so my prayer today, it is the solstice, the 21st of June 2020, is that I may softly, gently, steadily embody the way of being more of who I really am, in such a way that I align with this capacity of the supreme reality, the ultimate reality, to cohere in balance, beauty, harmony and integration. So may I have the courage and the honesty, the perseverance, the humility, and the presence to live that prayer.